Consuelo Vanderbilt was one of the first American dollar princesses. She was born on March 2, 1877 to railroad millionaire William Vanderbilt and his first wife, Elva. She was their oldest child and only daughter. She was named after her godmother, Consuelo, the Duchess of Manchester, who was subject of the society rumor mill for marrying the fortune-hunting Duke George. Elva was determined to have her daughter marry into the European aristocracy and raised Consuelo accordingly. Consuelo's childhood was dominated by her mother. She was educated at home by two governesses and was fluent in French and German by the time she was 8. She also had lessons in history, literature, math, Latin, and science. Music lessons and an hour of exercise in Central Park rounded out the day. Social graces and etiquette were extremely emphasized. In her autobiography, Consuelo described how her mother would force her to wear a steel rod that ran down her spine to improve her posture. Elva kept a watchful eye over Consuelo and whipped her with a riding crop for even the smallest infractions. When she was a teenager, Consuelo did not want to wear the clothes that Elva had chosen for her. In response, Elva said, "I do the thinking, you do as you're told." When Elva was satisfied that she had molded Consuelo into the perfect wife, she took her to Europe to introduce her to titled men. By the time Consuelo made her debut, she had a reputation for being one of the most eligible women in the world. For one, she was incredibly beautiful, intelligent, and kind. The playwright Sir James Barrie, author of Peter Pan, wrote that he would stand all day in the street just to watch her get into her carriage. But she was not only beautiful, she was incredibly rich as one of the greatest heiresses in America. Suitors lined up for her hand, desperate to trade their pedigrees and titles for cash. Elva was determined to secure the highest-ranking match that she could, and orchestrated a meeting between her daughter and Charles Spencer Churchill, the 9th Duke of Marlborough. Consuelo was not interested in the Duke, and she was secretly engaged to her childhood friend, the wealthy and handsome Winthrop Rutherford. Wow, that name's a tongue twister. Consuelo refused to marry the Duke and planned to elope with Winthrop. This enraged Elva, who locked Consuelo in her room, intercepted her mail, and did not allow visitors. Elva pleaded and begged and ultimately ordered Consuelo to marry the Duke. She even threatened to kill Winthrop. However, Consuelo still refused. It wasn't until Elva claimed that Consuelo's stubbornness had triggered a heart attack and that her health was now dire that Consuelo agreed. After that, Elva conveniently made a miraculous recovery. So why was Elva so desperate for this marriage to happen? The answer is actually a bit complex. The most obvious reason was that Elva was an ambitious social climber. However, Consuelo and the Duke were married in 1895, the same year that Elva was divorcing the philandering William Vanderbilt. At the time, divorce was really hard to survive socially, especially since Elva had already taken a lover, who eventually became her second husband. Elva knew that becoming the mother of a duchess would help her to maintain her fragile social position. And because of her own failed marriage, she thought that Consuelo would find more fulfillment as an English duchess. As a duchess, she would have more power, prestige, and influence in the community than she would as the wife of a rich American. On November 6, 1895, the 18-year-old Consuelo married the 24-year-old Duke in New York City. There was much fanfare surrounding the wedding, and Elva enhanced this by leaking details to the press. Consuelo was reportedly weeping under her veil, and the Duke arrived late due to last-minute marriage negotiations. The Duke received a dowry of $2.5 million, or about $90 million in today's money in railroad stock. Shortly after the wedding, the Duke told Consuelo that he only married her in order to save his ancestral home. Even though she was in a loveless marriage, Consuelo was very popular in England. She was adored by the tenants on her husband's estate and was involved in many charitable causes. She was also a social success in England's high society. Consuelo also became close to the Duke's cousin Winston Churchill, who she remained lifelong friends with. However, the Duke and Duchess's marriage was a name only. They both had affairs and eventually divorced and annulled their marriage after 26 years and 2 children together. Surprisingly, Elva supported the annulment, confessing that she had forced her daughter to marry the Duke. Later in life, Elva and Consuelo enjoyed a closer, easier relationship. Very shortly after her divorce in 1921, Consuelo married the French aviator Jacques Belson. He had been in love with her since she was 17, and their marriage was a very happy one. They remained married until Jacques passed away in 1956.